The Logosol F2 Plus is our sturdiest chain sawmill to date. It is a further development of the Logosol F2, which has become a very popular tool for people who want to cut their own timber at home or wherever the logs are. The F2 Plus has longer log beds and sturdier log winches to be able to stand up to the load of really large logs. Logosol's chain sawmills are almost entirely made of heavily anodized aluminium. This is a material with amazing properties. It is lightweight and strong, and it is able to stand up to outdoor climate for decades without changing the slightest. The surface has low friction and is easy to keep clean. Logosol has manufactured reliable chain sawmills for over 30 years. The F2 Plus is our latest model, refined in many details that make it easier for you to use it. Its design is simple and clean, and the functions are exactly what you need for the work to go smoothly. You can saw all sorts of wood. You get a fine sawn surface from chainsawing, and the guide bar cuts just as straight through knots as through softer parts of the wood. When you are sawing with a chainsaw, you get independent of electricity, and you can set up the sawmill where it suits you best. You can saw the log through and through to get wide, unedged boards, or, as in this case, cut a cant first to be able to saw edged boards at once. The sawn surface is impressively fine and usually less splintery than from a circular saw, for instance. If you have access to electricity at your working site, you can benefit from using an electric saw unit. It cuts faster and more quietly, and it is easier to work with. The feed of the saw unit is controlled from one end of the sawmill. For the sawmill, there is also a log molder that can mill log house timber that is up to 8 inches wide. Since it also works as a planer, you're able to design and produce different kinds of beams and poles with great freedom. Sawing on the Logosol F2 Plus is faster than you think. A large part of the work is to roll new logs onto the sawmill and carry away the sawn boards. Under good conditions, you can easily cut 100 linear meters of edged boards per hour. The F2 Plus is a tool that is easy to own. It is almost maintenance-free, and it is easy to store when you don't use it. The guide rail can be stored the same way as a ladder. Birch is popular as firewood, but it is also a very strong and good sort of wood for different kinds of woodwork. Having your own sawmill opens up new opportunities to make use of the finest pieces of the wood. The F2 Plus is easy to transport with a standard passenger car. On the roof of your car you can transport the guide rail, adjusted, aligned and ready to use. Once at the sawing site, the sawmill is set up quickly. Despite its flexibility, the sawmill is very strong. The legs are set up and the guide rail is fitted in place. The auto-locking winches under the log beds are used for setting the desired bore dimensions. The locking function can be disengaged when you are going to lower the log beds. Because they are working separately, they are just as easy to adjust when you are compensating for tapered logs as when you are making parallel cuts. With Logosol's log table in front of the sawmill, loading logs becomes easy, and you can roll the logs onto the log beds without effort. The kerf is 6 millimeters. This is about twice as much as the kerf of a bandsaw, but on the other hand, the kerf has very small deviations, so you can usually save a couple of millimeters when planing the boards. Birch is a relatively hard sort of wood, but it is still easy to cut. When the cuts are as wide as this, it will take a little longer, but the result is worth waiting for. It has never been easier to own a reliable piece of equipment for cutting up large logs. It allows you to build cost-effectively with standard dimensions. But it also opens up new opportunities, since you get access to building materials in new sorts of wood and dimensions. If you want, you can let your creative juices flow in ways that otherwise would not be possible. As an owner of a Logosol F2 you will discover the benefits of being self-sufficient and able to make use of logs that otherwise would have become firewood at best.